Hello, welcome to my kitchen. My name's Denise, and today we'll be canning our cinnamon stick sweet tea concentrate. We made this in a separate video that I'll link for you in a card up above so that you can find it easily. I'll show you how to can it today to make it shelf stable for you to use anytime you want. Some people say that sweet tea is a summertime beverage, but for me, sweet tea is a year-round treat. It's the middle of winter, and I'm drinking it today. So let's get over to the stove. I have my two 8-quart stock pots filled with sweet tea concentrate, along with sterilized jars on a towel-lined counter, and a canning funnel to minimize the mess. This stuff's really sticky, so I don't want it to get anywhere, because keep in mind it's a concentrate. It's got a lot of sugar in it, and that stuff, when it splashes, gets everything sticky. So here I'm filling my first jar, leaving a 1/2 inch of headspace at the top, and I expect to get 14 quarts of sweet tea concentrate, but I've prepared 16 jars, hoping for more. I always hope for more. A little optimism there, but I'm usually right at 14 quarts when I'm finished. That's the first jar of yummy goodness. I'll go off camera to fill the remaining jars. Now that the jars are filled, I'm wiping the rims of each jar using a paper towel dipped in vinegar and wrung out to be just damp. This is to get the sticky concentrate off the rims that splashed up during the filling process. This is a necessary step to ensure there's a clean seal between the top of the jar and the rubber seal of the lid. Without doing this, the jars may not seal, and you'll have gone through all this effort for, well, not for nothing, because the product will still be fine, but it won't be of canning quality, and you'll need to use it right away.
And I'll be putting a new canning lid on each jar. And I'll go ahead and put my bands on to finger tight. And then we'll get these in the canner. Until it's not boiling hot, or I wouldn't be able to touch it, although I do have asbestos fingers. This is one of my 2 water bath canners. So when you saw the 14 quarts sitting over here, 7 will go in here, and 7 will go in my other one.
Once loaded, I lower the jars into the water and ensure the water is at least 1 inch above the top of the jars. I didn't have quite enough water in the canner, so I had a kettle of water boiling on the side, so I'm filling it up to the top here. Then I put the lid on the canner, I turn the heat on high, and I bring it to a boil. Once the water is boiling, I set a timer for 20 minutes. Here I'm showing you that the water is boiling, so the timer starts. After the timer finishes, I turn off the stove and remove the canner lid. I carefully lift the jars using the rack and allow it to rest on the rack in the canner for 5 minutes. This 5 minutes allows the jars to normalize their temperature to the ambient air temperature, and they actually start pinging and sealing at this time during this 5 minutes.
And so now I will remove the jars one by one, using a jar lifter because they are very hot. And I'll put them over here on a towel-lined counter. It's important to have a towel-lined counter to protect your jars because these are very hot. They've been boiling after all. And you want to protect them from thermal shock. And that's where the jars are very hot and the counter is cool, and your jars could crack and your tea would go everywhere and it would just be a big sticky mess. So I just space these out to leave room all around them to allow them to cool. So I just leave them with a couple of fingers in between each one. So here's 7 from my first canner, and there we have it. 14 jars of cinnamon sweet tea concentrate. We'll let them sit here and cool for 24 hours. Let them seal, and we'll label them and put them away tomorrow.
Okay, so it's the next day. We canned our sweet tea yesterday, and today we will look at it and make sure it all sealed up. So let's go over and have a look.
So there it all is. Alright, so now we just take all the bands off. We test each one of these just by tapping the top to make sure that they sealed. That's a happy day when all of them seal. I've labeled 2 of the jars already. I'll continue labeling these. It should last 12 to 18 months downstairs in a cool, dry place. But it's not going to last that long in my house.
Thank you for joining me in my kitchen today. I always enjoy having you here and look forward to seeing you again. If you found this video useful,
please give it a like and subscribe to my channel. I'll be uploading more content for you to enjoy, and in the meantime, I'll include a couple of cards for my other videos. Until we see each other again, be safe and be well.